All right. So before we get started, I just want to get something out of the way. Get my top of 2024 out because I
Ooh,
couldn't get in
bonus
the
content.
meeting with you guys last time. So I'm just
Hmm.
gonna be quick. I have a quick top three albums, like not ranked, just equally good. And it's the Kilter one, which we covered in one episode, the Azure one, Pim, which we covered in another episode, and Violet Pony, which we covered today.
Nice.
Nice.
And other than that, like a kind of general good stuff or honorable mentions, I'd like to say the Wombat Supernova album. It's just crazy math rock from France. It's so good. The English Teacher album, some indie rock from the UK, also excellent. The Justice album, Justice, the
Mm,
electro synth thing. I thought their album was really good.
Me too.
The Pianisty one, which we talked about earlier. Uh, the album from Colin Stetson, The Love It Took to, I think, Leave You. Yeah, the Love It Took to Leave You.
mm.
Man, I love Colin Stetson, just what he does with the saxophone and all the kind of atmospheres he draws you into with just his repeated stuff and cyclical breathing and all of that. It's awesome. I also love the Blood Incantation album and the Jordy Creep album.
Mm.
And with that being said, I'm ready to talk about the Q4 of 2024, our picks from October to December. So, what are you guys wearing today?
Let's
I've
see
got
it. Shirt check.
three shirt 3. From the ghost you gave to me. Nice.
Got
Awesome.
coil shirt. Coil shirt felt like it was uh musically similar to my pick today, so went with coil.
What? Yeah, what's Coil? I don't know them.
Coil is one of the projects that came after like Throbbing Gristle wasn't so much of a project anymore. It's like continued, but it had Peter Christopherson from Throbbing Gristle and uh his partner John Balance, who I think maybe did some stuff with Psychic TV, but just like a late 90s and mid 90s into the early 2000s electronic duo, trio, if you will.
Nice. I have my most recent addition to the collection, which is a little known underground band called Kylie Minogue.
Awesome.
Saw her on
Classic.
tour recently.
Is that
Fantastic
like
time of my
the
life.
is that like the Abigail Williams band?
Something like that.
Like there's a Kylie Minogue band that's just doing deathcore.
No, there is an experimental project called Kylie Minoise that I don't think has any relation to the singer, but it's just like we thought this was a funny name and they make like weird experimental stuff. But no, this is just the actual Australian pop goddess herself.
There's also
Awesome.
Lana Del Rabies.
Is
Uh,
that right?
yeah, there's Lana Del Rabies, which
There's
is
a
kind
bunch
of
of them.
similar. It's a
Yeah.
weird culture, I guess, of taking like pop music and turning it into harsh noise.
Yeah,
That
there's so the actors one like Nicolas Cage fight or something.
The Tony
not heard
Danza
of
tap
that.
dance extravaganza.
Yeah. And there's another one with Nicolas Cage, which is like it's grindcore stuff and it's awesome.
Mm.
I don't remember the name right now, but I think it's just Cage. Yeah,
Mm.
it's themed around Nicolas Cage acting out in his movies. Like there's an excerpt that at the start of each track. It's
Not the
awesome.
bees.
Yeah, there's one with the bees.
There has to be. I mean, if you're not
Yeah,
doing
and
the not the bees, what are you even doing with the Nicolas Cage
there's
theme?
there's even an Christmas themed EP with all the Christmas movies and stuff. It's great. You should check them out. But today I wear Unbodied.
Body.
It's
Is this
an
Sukadi?
Unbodied.
Unbodied.
I ain't heard
You
of
know
them.
them?
And
Never
yet you
heard.
have a body.
Bro.
Curious.
Sus. But yeah, it's a kind of a I don't know how to call them. They're stoner metal in some kind of way, some kind of progressive technical stoner metal stuff. Um, they got the now, well, back then he was not, but now he's the drummer of the Black Dahlia Murder. It's Alan Cassidy, and
Hmm.
he's just kind of with Unbodied, it's really his A game, It's over
Hmm.
drumming all over the place, and I'm all up for it. It's so awesome. On Black Dahlia Murder, he's much more restrained and stuff. So, but it's really hot right here, so I'm gonna just remove it right now.
Oh boy.
You're gonna derobe.
Cue the Zelda, mystery
Yeah, yeah,
sound.
yeah.
Da-da-da.
Body reveal.
Yeah. To uncover another band. Sure, it's Prague Story. It was actually like a
Nice.
cover band for a bunch of the story of progressive rock, and they
That's
played
cool.
in Quebec. It was awesome. Yeah, so that's all I have to say for my defense.
Unbodied. I like the band. Well, it makes me think of some of my favorite band names. If I've mentioned this already, forgive me, but my least favorite band name. This may be something worth like doing an episode for favorite band names, why least favorite band names. Least favorite band name, or the one that makes me really mad. There's this metal band called Cuttered Flesh.
Yeah,
So it has like two suffixes. They're not I don't think they're from America. I don't actually know, but the two suffixes just really upsets me for some
Hmm.
reason. And like all the ectomy bands, I can deal with that. Organectomy, I can deal with that. The mint, like defacement. Best
yeah.
mint
Sorry.
band is New York Mint. Go ahead and say that. New York Mint is the best. But Cuttered Flesh just like it does something to me in it. I can't stand it.
Cutter Fletch. They're from Czechia.
Sure. Yeah. But the two suffixes, I just can't fucking stand it.
Isn't there a type of ship called a cutter? So maybe they're saying my flesh got mutilated by a ship.
They don't have like a ship theme,
Oh, okay.
I don't think. They're just
Is it
like a,
word?
like a slam brutal death metal band. If they were ship themed, then okay. Plenty of themed brutal death and slam bands. But yeah.
Yeah, I just checked and it's not a word cutter, so I was just making sure.
It
I
doesn't
think if
even
you're in
have
the
to.
if you're in the genre of slam, grammatical and syntax accuracy is very optional. It's
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's totally optional, of
primitive.
course. But it somehow breaks like unspoken standards in a way. And yeah, we should try and interview Cuttered Flesh and get to the bottom of that because maybe it was just like a typo and they were like, fuck, dude, we already made the album art and the logo. Like, we can't, let's just
Like
keep it.
Rammstein.
Oh, I don't know that story, if that's a
Yeah,
thing.
Rammstein is a typo actually. It was supposed to have one M,
Okay. Yeah, I never knew
and
that.
the
they
one
played
that popped
along
in
with
my
it.
mind was Eiffel 65, who were just called Eiffel, and then somebody was like writing a phone number on a sheet of paper, and the last two digits went off onto the next sheet of paper and ended up next to the word Eiffel, and that became the band name.
Are you kidding
Hmm.
me?
That sounds fake, but that's what I've read. So
Isn't that like an internet legend or something?
it could be. I mean, this is from back in, I probably looked this up on AOL in 2002. I don't know.
Hmm.
Well, that's an awesome story for your band name, actually.
serendipitous.
I guess Cuttered Flesh must have a good story too.
I should message them. I may have at one point.
Oh
Uh,
yeah?
just asking. I I am notoriously bad about if I have some issue or great praise for a band, I will just let them know quickly. Uh, for a while,
Awesome.
there was that Egyptian death metal band that isn't Nile. They had like the super long name.
Oh, it's
I can't.
Eximpetus Erketzebib
Oh
Tugagatsu
yeah, yeah. Eggs in Paradise. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I messaged them something that was just like, I guess the argument that I've made forever, which is like, you guys eat corn dogs, right? Like, are you guys from America? I don't, or like, I don't know. It's just such high concept and so serious sounding. And I was like, it's still brutal death metal. I mean, I was
Yeah.
just being a hard crowd.
My
They were
guess is
hyped
that
up
they're
a lot.
Polish though.
Oh, well, I don't think I actually asked where they were from. It
Okay.
was just like, uh, damn, this is super high concept. And I was just giving them a hard time. They never answered. Maybe I should ask Cuttered Flesh, but be mature and just ask, hey, where did the name come from?
Yeah. Well, maybe they probably just answered that at some point in some interview. They're pretty big.
Hmm, should look it up. Uh, you ready to talk about some damn albums?
Sure.
What's up? Can this even be called music podcast? I'm Bishop. Today we're doing quarter 4 of 2024 is better late than never. We've each picked a record. Already did our top 10, but we've each picked a record for the sake of thoroughness. I chose Eros, Your Truth is a Lie. Who's up next?
I can be next. I chose Secret Gardens with the Impermanent Amber.
Nice.
I chose Frost, Life in the Wires.
Frost Asterisk.
Frost asterisk. Yeah.
Frost
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Star, something like
Yeah,
that.
get it right.
I chose Violet Pony, Monarch of Monsters.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
good.
I think so I when I listen to these records, I listen to them Secret Gardens into Violet Pony, then Frost, then mine. I think there's a good transition a little bit from Secret Gardens into to Violet Pony. The last song kind of goes into to the first song on the Violet Pony record.
Sure.
Um,
Do it.
why did you pick Secret Gardens, the Impermanent Amber?
Because Matt picked Violet Pony before I did.
Mm, okay.
But yeah, so actually Secret Gardens was my number two, but it's just so good. It's kind of vibe, you know. Um, with these kind of albums, I feel like it fits well into the new prog, which is very different from the neo prog uh, sound, which we'll cover more with the Frost Asterisk album. And the new prog for me, I didn't look up a a definition of what it actually is, but for me, it's more like you bring in aesthetics of hip hop and electronic music and soul and stuff like that. I think. I think Pliny might be one of the first guys who really, nailed that sound, or maybe one of the biggest names out there. And there's also the name C2A, which who kind of follows along with Pliny. But for me, C2 has a very different, more like straightforward instrumental progressive metal whereas Pliny has all these outward influences from indie stuff, alternative and electronic stuff and all that. But with Secret Garden, uh, now I'm not gonna spoil your punch, Bishop, but it's got a bit of a, I don't know how to call that. It's really like it's undescribable to me. It's kind of a vibe, and it's really kind of soulsy in a way, and yeah,
Spiritual, you could say,
maybe, yeah. I
of a
think
certain brand of spirituality.
you're gonna hop on that later. But it's a project of the guy named Greg Almeida, and the Impermanent Amber is actually part of a series of album about seasons. And the Amber, I believe, is the fall one. Whereas he had, I believe, Tundra was the winter one, and the other one, which was green, and I don't remember the name. It's Portuguese, I think, which represents um, summer. And then there's the other one, which I don't remember, uh, which is spring. And yeah, oh yeah, I noted it. So it's Everbloom. Everbloom is spring, so it's noted in on Bandcamp. But this was the album, my gateway to Secret Gardens, and I absolutely loved it. And on Impermanent Ember, there's even a Sufjan Stevens cover, so that might make a link with what Bishop will have to say in a minute. But yeah, with all of that being said, which is not a lot, but it's an album that I just really like. It's got all these odd time signatures and all these very I would say compelling, but kind of a build-up moments, which they really build up to something great, and I'll have that great payoff at the end. So yeah, that's why Secret Gardens is my pick for the quarter. What have you guys have to say about that, Bishop?
I'll talk about it. So I remember when Everbloom came out, because I think you sent it to me, and maybe I wrote about it. I can't remember at this point, but I did like it. I think I like this one even more. Um, Definitely, like, so if that's what the new prog sound is, I had never referred to it as that, because to me it kind of sounds like Polyphia, and maybe Polyphia and Pliny are kind of homies or something, but to me this is what like math rock sounds like now. At least that's what it registers as to me.
Hmm.
uh Super quick, it's very pretty, lots of major going on. The thing that it made me feel very specifically was, maybe this is like a super common experience or shared experience for people in the South, maybe all over the US, but if you were a kid and you had an older brother, your mom makes you both go to church on Sunday, and you're like a kid, you don't really care about church, but you do like music, and of course you do like your brother. Maybe he's shown you some metal stuff and you're kind of into that. You get, you know, like, your brother wants to keep you on the path of righteousness, of course, because he's a little bit older. Maybe he understands what happens at church, but you're a kid. You're kind of bored by that. This is a album that your older brother would show you. That's like, this is kind of heavy. He doesn't want to show you. Maybe he doesn't want to show you Veil of Maya yet, or like the Black Dahlia Murder yet, because that mom will get kind of mad, or like we'll read those lyrics, and so can't have that. Got to keep your younger bro being a man of God, a boy of God, if you will. This would fit right in there because it's very positive. They're not talking about killing anybody. They're not talking about being mean or hating God. Uh, all the songs are super uplifting, and it's very nostalgic sounding to me. Melodically reminds me of some 2000s like indie sleaze type stuff. Very specifically, it reminds me of a band called Ever We Fall. Um, yeah, it feels very nostalgic to me. If I have a gripe with it, it's the same gripe that I have with, I guess, the new prog sound, where it's extremely clean and there are these edits that feel done like completely in the box. There's lots of hard cuts in between super technical parts. So it feels I don't want to say overproduced, but it is produced to the standard of music like this that is made today. And yet it has those sensibilities of, indie music from the early 2000s. But other than that, I thought I also thought it was really good. Lyrics are pretty inspired. I don't love every single song. I think my least favorite song, The Coven, I think is my least favorite song.
Mm.
But there are bangers on here. It's worth listening to for sure. I was happy with it. That is my take. Keeps you on the path of righteousness, some nostalgia, and just good musicianship like all around. So I was happy with it.
Well, that's kind of a staple of the prog genre at large, and the new prog, especially with the guitar guys, you know. It's like it's guitar porn, basically.
Yeah, and again, I think it's just the melodies that they come up with and the big choruses.
Mhm.
It reminds me of contemporary Christian music that you would hear in like a non-denominational church in a way. Oh, so the last note I wrote was the music sounds like if Polyphia wrote contemporary Christian music instead of horny rap metal. That's basically what it is.
That's a hard left turn for them.
So yeah, I liked it.
You hit right at the end on sort of, I came at this a different way. I didn't come at this with the new prog mentality, connecting it to those acts. A month or two ago, I started revisiting May, who is a band from the early, who's like a indie rock band from the early
MAE.
2000s, MAE.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Okay.
and the Everglow, and the fact that they have an album called The Everglow and Secret Gardens has an album called Everbloom feels to me like they've listened to a lot of May. And that's what I heard in this album. I was like, this sounds like an evolved, brought in some more influences maybe from that new prog scene, but the core of it felt a lot like May to me in the melody and the harmony
Mm.
and the vocal delivery, the positivity, the groundedness of it. I thought this was an album with a very concrete sense of place. Like there are place names in a lot of the song titles, whether they be specific or general. And, just like the amberness, the autumnness of it compared to some of the other stuff we're going to be talking about on this episode, which is very like fantasy, sci-fi, non-real world music. This is real world music. This is
Yeah.
like driving down a named interstate in the woods. Like you can
Yeah.
hear where you are on this album. Um, the it's got sort of that para CCM, like May, for a perfect example. They were on Tooth and Nail Records, which is a Christian label from the early 2000s, but I don't know that May was a Christian band per se. I think they were probably just like connected to that scene, but they weren't like preaching about Jesus in their lyrics. This album does have a couple of cuss words on it, so it's like,
Uh-oh.
it's that little edginess that it's like, oh,
Yeah.
we're
Rated
like
M for mature.
questioning our faith or something. Like it's not, you wouldn't play
Mm.
this in youth group, but you might play it to like bring somebody toward youth group. So I kind of see where you're coming from with that. Um, I really liked it. It's got this like unique mixture of that sort of late 2000, early 2000s indie rock with some prog, some post-hardcore, emo vocals and all that. And I like where it landed. I really loved it's a little bouncy back and forth between like here's a heavy song, here's a light song, here's an acoustic song. And then the last track is this 9 minute long crescendo build up called A Tragic Tale of Stars, which I love. I don't know exactly how it sits on the album, but like as a piece of music, it's got that sort of like post rock, big crescendo, big, huge build to a noise wall outro kind of thing that several bands, including myself, have done. Uh, I thought that was a cool way to end it. But yeah, I like a lot of what was going on here, and I probably should go back. I love an album cycle, so I didn't know this was a season in a series of season albums. I'll have to compare and contrast it to some of their previous work.
I
Yeah,
gotta.
I really also enjoyed the album. Um, I found it was like a good mix of Midwest emo and prog,
Yeah.
and it kind of went back and forth. Like the fourth track, Sky Island, is just like an instrumental prog track. There's like nothing else to call that besides prog. But then some of the other songs, they're a lot more like post-hardcore Midwest emo, like pop punk. Like there's not much prog, or the prog is a lot more hidden. But I really liked kind of the blend that they did of all those kind of different styles. Um, and I also noted that the 11th track was really good. Um, very very big sounding, and really enjoyed that. And I think as a whole, the album is great. And I also need to check out the other three seasons and listen to those albums.
Are you guys Midwest guys?
I am a tiny bit. I've listened to like American football, of course, but
No, I
not
mean
besides that,
geographic.
I haven't really. I'm not. I don't live in the Midwest. I've listened to some. I just haven't. I'm a New Englander.
Okay.
Yeah, I live in the South. I live in Tennessee. I wanted to add one extra little thing to that, little asterisk. The May comparison is a really good comparison, actually, because the vocals remind me at times of Copeland, and
Yeah,
Copeland
there you
and
go.
May used
Yep,
to
right in
like
the
tour
same
together,
wheelhouse. Yep.
and the para CCM tag I think is good because I always heard, I guess, that Copeland was like a Christian band when I was a kid, and maybe that made it extra, like maybe it satisfied something to my parents, like, okay, he's listening to Christian music, and that's like good for me. But I don't think they ever really preached or anything. So that was a really good comparison.
They're
That's a good
not
point.
Neil Morris, right?
Who?
Neil Morris, I think he's pretty preachy when it comes to Christianity in music. And well, Matt, earlier you touched on something that I wanted to elaborate on, but you said you wouldn't show. What did you say? You wouldn't show something that critiques, I think, religion or stuff,
Uh,
something.
I
You
was
know
just saying,
that.
like, because this album has curse words on it, you wouldn't play it in church. You'd play
Right,
it
yeah.
outside of church to like, maybe point someone who's, way were, listening to like Marilyn Manson. You play this, be like,
Yeah.
oh, here's some heavy music that's more
Yeah.
positive, but it's like it's not Jesus music per se.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't get that correctly, so that's good.
Yeah, and I mean, even it depends, I guess, on if you grew up with that, if you grew up with like Christian parents who wanted to, like, you were allowed to listen to music, but there was kind of there's a line, like how insane is it?
Mhm.
Maybe you would have cool parents who are like, okay, I get that this is like, there's some cursing, but okay, he's 13, he can hear some cursing or whatever. But yeah, it's also, it would put a strain probably on the guitar player in the worship band if you were like, this is we're gonna play this. uh Drummer would be fine, but guitar player would be like, what the fuck?
Well, the gospel the gospel bands, they're absolute monsters on their instruments.
Totally.
That's true. It's true.
That's that's crazy stuff.
When are we reviewing some gospel on this podcast?
Could do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
So
I was gonna say
fading.
I
Oh,
can go. Should I go next? Who's next?
well, you said it's a good transition
Oh
to
yeah,
Violet.
yeah. You're right. You're right.
So
Take us away.
Yeah. So Violet Pony, where to begin? I guess this is not a really underground artist. This is a very, very popular artist within a certain circle. And so like there'll be people who've heard of Violet Pony, but I think there's a large crowd who have not heard of Violet Pony. Before this album, my understanding is it was a lot more like electronic and hyper pop and um, some different kind of stuff like that. And then this album, Violet said, "I'm gonna just make a prog magnum opus kind of thing." It's not exactly prog. I'll explain more later. But so I had no experience with Violet Pony coming into this. I think Dave pointed this album out and was like, "Check this song out." Especially there's a 22-minute track in the middle of this album, which I'm going to listen to anything that's 22 minutes long, regardless of what genre is going on. So I had no idea what I was getting into. I click on the Bandcamp and I am immediately met with the cover art, which if you're watching this podcast, you're probably seeing the cover art right there
Yeah.
on the TV in the middle of the screen. And I looked at that and I'm like, nah, this is not for me. This is
not worth it.
what is this furry stuff? Like what is I immediately judged the book by its cover, and I'm like, I don't know about this. But 22-minute song. All right, let's see what's going on here. I put on the 22-minute song first, and it was like swans. It was so out of left
Mhm.
field and really experimental, really emotionally disturbing at times. And I was like, okay, I gotta dive into what's going on here. So, Monarch of Monsters is a concept album about some kind of Therian humanoid creatures in the 17th century in a fantasy world. And one of them is accused of being evil, but isn't really, but then is so ostracized from their community that they end up turning into the evil thing that everyone thought they were to begin with. But then this savior lamb creature comes in and redeems the wolf creature to serve as its protector, but then they end up falling in love. And so it is an album with violent themes, sexual themes, LGBT themes, really, really like it comes with a content warning right up front. So it's like it's a story that takes itself very seriously for as silly as it might look on the surface. It's not silly at all. And so when I started like really appreciating what this album was and being like, there's a lot of musicianship here that people need to appreciate. I took it to the prog metal subreddit and I said, hey, if you like Azure, which I know you guys do here on r/prog metal, you should listen to this album. And I got a lot of pushback for comparing it to Azure. And that's fair because it's not as proggy. It's not as happy and upbeat, although the Azure album does have like, lots of serious and danger, stuff going on. The reason that connection made sense to me mentally is one, both bands are singing about this totally alien fantasy universe in a totally serious way. Like they are just fully immersed in this is the story we're going to tell. And within that story, we are going to be deathly serious about it and sing with conviction and sing with emotion and power about all the different things happening in this fantasy world. And the vocal deliveries on both albums are stellar. I mean, Chris Sampson from Azure is doing a lot more like high range, impressive vocal stuff. Violet Pony is more covering a lot of different ground vocally. There's one moment I noted down as I was listening back through it last night where it's in, I'm going to look it up so that I get the song right, but in about 10 seconds of one song, there are 5 different vocal techniques used, just like rapid fire, totally different voices. It's in Survivor's Guilt, um, about a minute in, where it's just like there's a ton of different things happening in the story, and Zelda, who is Violet Pony, is just high falsetto singing, screaming, impassioned yelling, just like changing on a dime between all these different vocal styles. So that and the conceptualness of it and the theatricality of it is why I linked it to Azure. Other than that, yeah, musically they're not totally the same. This album is not prog in the sense of being the genre prog, but it's prog in the sense of it covers a lot of different musical territory. It incorporates a lot of different genres to tell its story, from the sort of heavy Swans metal stuff to track 2, Play Dead is like aggressive garage rock, hyper pop, electronic stuff mashed together. You got your acoustic parts, you got your more atmospheric parts, you got these um man, so much different stuff. The first track, which is called Pest, is so beautiful right away. It's just like the rich layering of melody and orchestration. There's like horn and violin, and I don't know if I'm assuming these are VSTs because I can't imagine Zelda plays everything, but there's so many different instruments and sounds used across this album. And I don't care if it's VSTs because all I want to do is appreciate the composition of it. It's so incredibly brilliantly put together and it sounds good. It never sounds, again, connecting to Azure. We talked a little bit about how Red Tail, which was the EP that introduced me to Azure, from a production standpoint, it's not very good. It's the vocals are there and the guitars are there and then everything else is like programmed, but you can hear, despite that, the musical brilliance going on. With Violet Pony, you don't even get distracted by like, well, am I listening to something that's actually performed and produced? It just, you never care. It's just so well put together that it's a mind-blowing listening experience. So many different songs on this album have a moment in them that is bombastic and it's like, oh yeah, and like Pest does that. The second time the chorus comes around, it's the chorus of the song, but there's no vocals. There's instead like a wailing guitar solo, and it just hits so hard. There's a moment in the Wallflower Equation, which is the one I'm going to tell Jeff to pull for the clip that we play at the beginning of the podcast, that it's like a little synth crescendo and then a sort of chorus type part comes back, and it is so heavy and thick and melodic. And it's just like that's why music exists. Like that moment
That's
is,
my favorite track of the
oh
album,
yeah,
the Wallflower. I think
it's
it's
great.
my favorite.
And I mean, that song right there, it starts with like a couple of minutes of just this droning electronic motif with sort of spoken word vocals over it. And then it builds up into just this massive, somewhat proggy, heavy thing. Another thing I'll mention that maybe not all listeners will pick up on, there are multiple explicit references to the band Genesis on this album. Princess Cuckoo is, I think, a reference to Cuckoo Cocoon from The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. Also, in that song, I Got Sunshine in My Stomach is a lyric directly lifted from In the Cage from the album The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. End of the album, Rest Now, Little Wolf, etc., has a direct lyrical reference and melody reference to the song Afterglow from the 1977 album Wind and Wuthering. So
Damn.
yeah, so
Deep
there's
cuts.
and there might be more that I didn't pick up on, but like this is definitely in dialogue with, I'm going to make a prog album and I'm going to stamp it by like bringing in some specific homages to, the
I'm gonna
legends.
prove it.
Yeah, and I could probably talk a lot more about it, but I'll shut up and let you guys see what you think. I just, despite my first impressions, I was absolutely blown away by this album. I put it at number 9 on my countdown, and I said then it's probably too low, and I still feel that way. It's so impressive, this album. So I mean, it's one I'm going to come back to for a long, long time.
Dude, yeah. The reason why I was saying it felt like there was a good transition from Secret Gardens into this is because the final song on the Impermanent Amber you know, like you said, super long. Well, it's 9 minutes, not super long, but that crescendo. And then the first track on Monarch of Monsters is like this just very beautiful post-hardcore track. And
Mhm.
I was at first I actually wasn't, because I usually listen to these albums while I'm at work and I'm taking mental notes. I didn't realize that we had transitioned from one album to the next one. And so I was happy about that. I had a similar sort of uh judging the book by its cover experience at first. Um I wasn't sure what to expect from this record. Uh, I think that it maybe came out around a similar time when the Jordy Griep album was coming out. Maybe that's wrong, but
I think
if that sounds right, Jordy Griep, I like Black Midi is cool. I
they
feel like
came
their
out
music is
1 month apart.
okay. Because so many people told me to listen to that Jordy Griep record, I just ended up not doing it. I'm sure it's sick as hell, but I ended up not doing it. And when Matt said that this album sounded like Swans, I was like, I just really had no idea what to expect. But short answer, this album is like a fucking masterpiece. It's insanely good. I I don't typically write notes on a song by song basis, but every single song does something where it does something that makes me like if any other project was doing it, I would be like, turn this off. Like there's no way that that a band can execute this idea in a way that will make me happy. And Violet does it every single song in a row in like an infuriating way that's just extremely good. Uh, Play Dead reminds me of Bring Me the Horizon's post-human survival horror. Super modern, that clashing, or I don't even want to say clashing, but beautiful integration of hyper pop ideas into metal music. The Heretic transitions between these weird electronic moments to a chorus that sounds like compared it to Hellbilly Deluxe Rob Zombie. Like it has 90s grunge shit going on. If Rob
totally.
Zombie had written that in 2020. And yeah, I also wrote that Survivor's Guilt has this chorusy marimba part. And that's one of those things where I was like, is this going to be good? When will this album do something where I'm like, I don't care. Like it's fucked up now. It never happened. And Survivor's Guilt reminded me of Brainiac in a way. Uh, Princess Cuckoo, insanely good song. My favorite song on the record. Scary, horrifying song. Uh, there's this moment where there's this rhythmic panting, and just this song really reminds me of Swans a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it like you just have to listen to this song, but such an effective, extremely heavy part with the panting. It's in just a steady rhythm and it invisibly transitions into this hard swing rhythm and then goes right back. Like one of the most satisfying just musical moments that I've had with a record in like a few months, honestly. So Violet, genius. As it's a genius record. Almost makes me mad how good every single song is. So
It's
I
infuriating.
it is infuriating how fucking good it is. And just got to point out, checking the Bandcamp credits here, all music was Zelda, all music and vocals, all instruments, production, mixing, and mastering also.
That's impossible. For as good as this album
Fuck,
sounds, that's
fuck.
unreal.
Yeah.
I can't say it. I can't give it higher praise. Like,
And just with the breadth of genres and styles incorporated in that. And before that, Violet Pony, they did, other kinds of music, totally, like totally
Yeah.
different music. And just to nail that one, like 100%, just it's crazy.
yeah, completely blown away. Um, I was saying, I look at the like album I've been working on and just I'm like, all right.
What am I
You
doing?
you win.
Every now and then you come across one of those albums that makes you feel like you should just quit music, and this is certainly one of those.
Yeah. Just
But you
so
shouldn't.
insanely good.
Kids at home, don't quit music because someone
No,
else is
don't.
better than you.
Of course, don't quit. Uh and the I guess the last little thing is the metal parts, the heaviest metal parts really remind me of kind of what it seems like I hear with the most popular metal music today. I think Bring Me the Horizon is kind of a good uh like it has a neutral pH in the litmus test of what works for modern metal music. Whatever Bring Me the Horizon is doing is kind of that. They have like 12 million listeners on Spotify, even though that doesn't fucking matter, but it's very, very popular. And the metal parts nail that sound too. It's just like insane. It's so good, extremely inspired, and it's just masterful. It's like crazy. Don't know what else to say beyond holy crap. So good.
Totally. Jeff?
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. Again, looking at the album art and the Bandcamp, like first impression was like, okay, what is this? And yeah, I watched My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic when it came out, and a lot of their past music is based in that universe. I was never a brony. I'm not a furry. I'm not like deep into that kind of fandom, but um, when I started listening to music, I was like, okay, this is something good. Like I'm going to enjoy this, and all the different styles, genres that it kind of goes through, and each one done so masterfully is just like how is this possible that only that one person did all of this on their own? Like it's it's absurd how good it is. Um, like the longest tracks, the Wallflower Equation and Sludge are just like incredible. I kind of got some Mars Volta vibes in Wallflower Equation, um, but there's like so many other different kind of vibes that the rest of the album like it does have some prog in it, but it's like there's so much else to it that it's just crazy. Yeah.
I I wrote on the I don't remember where I don't remember where, but I wrote that this not this album, but Sludge wouldn't be too out of place on Francis the Mute B-sides. Something like that. Something about that album kind of reverberates with Sludge. But I did some reading on Violet Pony, and they've got a wiki page. So I told you not to not to go and check out their wiki page because there's a lot of stuff there. And just on the album Monarch of Butterflies, there's a whole novella, kind of a story, not as long or as uh, detailed as the Fim book, the Lou, but it kind of develops on on the story of Monarch of Butterflies, and without the without the metaphors and all of that have to go into writing a song. So it's very more literal, and there's also a bunch of details like um, I kind of noticed before reading that there's kind of a shift at the happening at the start of the album. There's the first track. I don't remember the track, but there's the first track, and it's kind of upbeat and all of that, and then it kind of goes out of the window and just into dark places. And apparently, there's been a kind of event in Violet's life happening after she wrote the first track of that album. So that kind of explains it, and that's where I think that's when she decided to go into that whole prog dark stuff. So that kind of explains it. Also, the lamb figure, apparently it comes from a dream she had. And her in the dream she was the wolf and all of that. And I also wanted to say a few words about the MLP community. I know your reaction when looking at the cover art and all of that, and I didn't have that reaction with that album because this reaction I already had it years ago. The kind of disdain and uh, maybe disgust with or laughing about that kind of community. But I don't remember what album it was, but what I found when listening, I was just like, oh, let's listen to that. It's gonna be funny. But actually, it was really good, and I don't remember the album that it was, but it was a few years ago, and since then, I'm like, okay, I'm on board. I'm not part of the community, but I'm like, damn, they kind of grow super talented people, and they're very dedicated, and they take that super seriously. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like any other community, right? I think Bishop, you touched a word on that. Just like, they decide to, I don't know, identify as a unicorn or whatever, and you like wear your metal shirt, and that's the same thing, right?
Yeah, I was saying that in the chat. So like the immediate gut reaction that I had to the album cover wasn't so much like, oh, I don't care about this because of the community that is like that Violet's a part of. It was more so like I've seen, furry art or even MLP stuff on like Instagram, and the music that I associate with it is more like hyperpop or drum and bass type stuff, which I enjoy, but it it tends to not really grab me like that. So I think that partially played into the reaction of just like I wouldn't have expected there's really no album cover that could make you anticipate what happens on this record, to be fair.
Oh.
But after I felt that way, I like I guess I just again I'm listening to these while I'm working, so I just thought about it like all day, and I felt kind of bad that I had that reaction, and uh so yeah, it made me feel like, regardless of, if you wear a fursuit or however you dress or whatever, like we pretty much all wear what is our equivalency of a fursuit. Like we all wear to some degree some kind of identifying people get in a sense of who you are by the way that you dress or what you listen to or whatever. And I let other people know a ton of things about me by the fact that I have the coil long sleeve or the death metal long sleeve. And so other people can just immediately identify that you know we have some sort of
All of the
common
same.
ground.
Yeah, you have the same community, kind of.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that like furries, the way that, their costume is people hate furries to just an unreasonable, completely unreasonable degree. Uh, so yeah, in a way, by having that gut reaction, I had to like I had a little bit of a existential moment of just like I'm kind of doing the same fucking thing. Like every person does essentially a similar thing, but no one is like spitting on me or like telling me to that I deserve to die because my hair is long or I have a fucking, you know, death metal four-sided, no one is attacking me for that.
Yeah, we're not in the 80s anymore.
Yeah. Uh, so still just thought it was amazing. It's crazy how good it is.
Yeah, and wait. Yeah, I had a question, must greatness come from pain or trauma? Because clearly, I don't know if it's I don't know the chain of correlation or causation, but clearly Violent went into a lot of pain and trauma herself, and or but it led to some, astonishing and a great album, great music. So I don't know, I had kind of this philosophical question for you guys.
It lends itself towards it. I think it lends itself towards very inspired writing. Because you can write about things poetically in an indirect way while still being extremely personal. And that is something that very inspired writing lyrics is what takes a record for me personally from being that's really good to like this is a special record that I love and it's incredible. And yeah, I guess just, you know, like negative feelings can really lend themselves towards wanting to write a lot. If you're the kind of person who journals or something. I know that in my own experience that my favorite songs that I've written have lyrics from when I, I was just journaling and then the journaling turns into a musical idea or a lyrical idea and that ended up being some of my favorite music that I've ever written. Whereas when it feels like everything is kind of squared away and I don't have any glaring problems, I don't feel as inspired to write because I kind of just feel normal. Like I can just work on things normally. Um, One final thing about the Bandcamp. So if you use Bandcamp, you know that artists can specifically recommend albums and they choose those albums. Violet Pony recommends The Lamb as Effigy by Sprain, which is
Awesome
crazy.
choice.
So she's got to be a music head, true music head right here. If you're listening to that, the
Great choice.
description just says it's scary, which is a good description. It's scary. Uh, yeah. Short answer, is it required? No. Does it lend itself towards inspired writing, which people tend to pick up on? I think so.
I think there's a sort of mutual feedback of like there's a sense in which trauma and pain lend themselves to good metal or heavy music, and there's also a sense in which heavy music just works well as a medium for processing your own trauma and pain. So it's two sides of the same coin, and when metal doesn't come from a place of authentic pain, then it has to sort of invent something and then ends up being, angry or slam or let's talk about, people's intestines and stuff like that. That's not authentic, nor is it trying to be. But if you want your music to convey emotion, then it should come from a place of emotions that you yourself are experiencing, or else it's just going to come off as like, what is this? So I always think it's awesome when to go back to what we talked about at the beginning, this album is it's fantasy. It is very far removed from actual reality, and yet the subjects that it touches on in that story are very real and are very like, grounded in real world pain and trauma and assault and abuse and stuff like that. And the fact that you can have that, convey those emotions and those feelings and those experiences in this removed fantastical setting, and yet it still comes off as like authentic. That's impressive.
And
Yeah.
surely therapeutic as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, like the music was made to deal with their own trauma and kind of release the stress and be like cathartic in the creation of it.
There's moments on the more raw tracks, like your parts of Princess Cuckoo and parts of Sludge, where it's like, should I be listening to this? This feels like too
Yeah.
personal almost. Like I don't know if I should be here, but yeah.
All right, so I think that's all for the Violet Pony album. Great choice. You should go and listen to it already. Now,
Wait, did
Jeff,
we find a second band that we all agree on? We love the Mars Volta, and now we all love Violet Pony. This is great.
All right.
Yeah.
Two for 50,000, but we're working on it.
that's good.
Yeah.
Jeff,
I can go next. Yeah. So I picked Frost, Life in the Wires. I first heard Frost not too long after Million Town came out, and that remains like a classic prog album for me. Love that album, and I love that they aim to kind of go back to that sound with this album, and I think they succeeded in doing that. Um, Frost Asterisk is a collaboration between the British pop music producer slash keyboardist Jem Godfrey and John Mitchell of Arena and It Bites fame. If you haven't heard It Bites, the albums that John Mitchell are on are like solid prog albums. I really enjoy those as well. And John Mitchell also has his own solo project, Lonely Robot. Those albums are great as well. But so Frost, I like pretty much all their albums, but Million Town is definitely number one. And so this album really goes back to that. And it's got an epic title track that is split into two parts. One's near the beginning, one's near the end. That's probably my favorite part of the album. But the rest of the tracks are all great as well. And it really has a lot of kind of mix of kind of that pop sound with kind of the prog, great top class musicianship, and it just has catchy songwriting to kind of pull it all together. And I'm I really enjoyed this album, and I'm excited to see what they do next after this album. If they're going to continue to go in the Million Town direction, or if they're going to switch it up again. Their album Falling Satellites is one I actually reviewed on the blog. I really enjoyed that album when that came out because it tried some new things and kind of took them in a different direction, which I really enjoyed. So I'm excited to see where they go next because they really never kind of do the same thing twice, even though this kind of harkens back to Million Town. It's new. And they even have an EP that was leftover songs from Falling Satellites. The others, which those songs are even more different and weird, and they would sound out of place on any Frost album. That's why it's an EP. So they really kind of have a good range of what they can do.
yeah, so
Yeah.
actually this album is like a sequel to Day and Age, right?
I, I I don't know if it's a direct sequel to it, but I know that they kind of want to go the opposite direction of Day and Age.
I think it's a conceptual sequel at least.
Okay.
That's what I've read. And for me, I'm not the biggest Frost Asterisk fan. I'm actually not the biggest neo prog fan
Yeah.
out there. Even though pretty much
That's a
everything,
lie.
every what?
So that's a lie.
What did you call me? No. But even though pretty much everything, every prog rock album that comes out today is kind of it's influenced by and is part of the neo prog genre because there's not much old prog, retro prog that's being done anymore, and that's been for a while. And I don't even know if I can think of any non-neo prog album to name right now that's not from the 70s.
Wobbler.
Sorry?
Wobbler.
I don't know. I think Wobbler is neo prog too,
You
right?
think so?
Aren't,
I
aren't
I
they?
don't think they have enough of that for me because I've checked them out because they get a lot of praise in the modern prog community for having a classic sound. And I like 70s prog, but then I listen to Wobbler and I'm like, I don't know, it's lacking something. And it's not as punchy as like when you go into the 80s and neo prog with your IQ, Marillion, that
Mm.
wave of bands. There's a little bit of like aggressiveness kind of, and Wobbler is like zero aggressiveness from what I've heard. So I don't know.
Well, I don't think aggressiveness needs to define the genre, right? I think
No.
it's part using analog keyboards versus new keyboards,
Mm.
and it's also part more emotional songwriting, where I think like maybe the retro prog, the 70s and all, it was more psychedelic or I don't know, more out there stuff, less to the heart. And that's kind of what I have in mind. And also like the neo progs, it's kind of the turn around the 80s where they all went into synth stuff and more like pop mainstream kind
Mm.
of thing. Pretty much almost every prog band just turned into pop a pop band.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like there's a few that escaped it. I think Gentle Giant never changed.
Mhm.
Um, I think maybe King Crimson, they kind of
King Crimson
uh,
stayed weird, but they changed what kind of
yeah,
weird.
yeah, yeah. I
Like
think that's a good word.
Yes's 90215 is a good example of them going neo prog.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Like it's not the same band as was on Tales,
Right.
which is my favorite Yes album.
Nice.
But and Relayer, they're pretty much equal.
I'm a close to
And
the edge guy.
I'm sorry.
I'm a close to the edge guy, but I do
Oh
like
yeah.
Tails and Relayer.
Yeah, I love Close to the Edge.
Ah man, I don't know. There's something lacking on Close to the Edge.
And title track is
I mean,
all timer.
yeah, it's good, but it's just like I don't know, man. Tails and Relay are just like so much higher on my list, man.
This happens at least, I think it happens pretty much every episode where I have to say, like I'm not a true prog head, and I know that. So I've listened to very little Yes, but I can attest to King Crimson. In my opinion, they got weirder and weirder like every single album, and I think it's awesome. Uh, is it Discipline? They have a record called Discipline.
Mhm.
Like that's shit that my dad is super into, and
Mhm.
uh, everyone loves In the Court of the Crimson King, but Discipline is fucking awesome. But yes, I think I might be able to work with that. So I've got homework like always to do. I'll check out the Yes stuff. But in terms of the prog versus neo prog, or now the new prog, I guess with Secret Gardens, which to me is like math rock. Uh, but maybe I'm just being old in a way. Uh, I can't really distinguish between, besides just in terms of like when it came out, the old prog versus new prog
Mhm.
or neo prog. Sorry, I can't figure it out, dude. my head's spinning with all this prog.
Is it neo? Is it new? What is it?
Oh, damn
Go
no.
to progarchives.com and see what subgenre it's tagged as.
Yeah, good resource. But yeah, actually, with the neo prog fame or craze or whatever genre, they started writing shorter tracks too, like more of a verse chorus.
Boo.
Yeah, I know, right? I want my 20 minutes,
Yes.
no Tales is just like four
It's
20
4 20
minutes
minutes. It's so good.
albums. It's wow. I want more of that. Where is it? Where is my 20 minutes tracks? And even, today's long epics or whatever, Dream Theater's 6 Degrees, Transatlantic's Whirlwind. It's just a series of short, 4-minute tracks with verse, chorus, and then transition to another
Hmm.
verse, chorus. And that kills me. I hate that. Transatlantic, they did some good stuff on Bridge Across Forever, I think, with Stranger in Your Soul and Duel with the Devil, two
Hmm.
like 25-minute long tracks, and they are not suites of short mainstream tracks, you could say,
Hmm.
which I kind of, I dig a lot. I dig a lot. And with Frost, the last thing I wanted to say is I kind of dig that propaganda track. I think it's cool. It's got cool riffs and a cool progression in the track. I think that might be my favorite track on the album. But other than that, of course, when Million Town came out, it was a big deal, and it was like, man, Frost is the new king of prog, it's good stuff. And but I think they kind of faded after that, maybe.
Hmm.
There's a bunch of good albums, but a bunch of other which are more lackluster, I could say. But I think it was Falling Satellites. I think it was Falling Satellites that I kind of liked, and Day and Age I didn't much like at all. Um, Life in the Wires, I'm kind of in between, There's a bunch of good tracks, there's a bunch of meh tracks, and I think it could do with being shorter, which is a rare statement from me. But when it's in my view, when it's a bunch of unnecessary tracks that don't either they don't add something to the album, or they are not just very good. Maybe you can cut them. But I understand also that when you're making a concept album, sometimes you need to go through certain passages, but I'm kind of divided on that because you need to tell a story and you need to tell that moment of the story, and you write a song for that moment in the story. But if that song is not really good, it's not because the moment in the story is not good or important to say. It's just like you wrote a bad song, just put it in the trash and start again, write another one. And the one I had in mind for that, it was like the Siren song. I don't remember the name, but you're just a siren and all of that. Gets on my nerve. I don't like it.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I'm not going to be quite as down on it as you, but I agree with a lot of what you said. I love Frost. I love Million Town. I wasn't quite as sold on them after that. I think the next one was Experiments in Mass Appeal. It was a couple years
Yeah,
after
that's their
Million Town.
weakest album
It's
for
not
sure.
not that great, so I kind of like tailed off. I forgot Falling Satellites existed. I did like that album, but it hasn't like stuck with me. But I remember Day and Age, and they specifically sort of scaled back. We're not going to be as wanky, to put it in a prog sense on that. This is going to be like we're going to tighten up and focus on composition. And I liked that album. And then, they either decided or got pushed back from outside or whatever and said, okay, Life in the Wires will be a little wanky again, but we'll like work it into the songs. Like we'll use it in service of the music. And I'm like, okay, I agree with that philosophy. That's how it should be, like use your technical skills, but tastefully. So let's see how you do it. And I listened to Life in the Wires and I loved it. It's long. It's it's a double album, 90 minutes. It's like, okay, if you're above 80, you count as a double album, but it's not like Arion, 110 kind of super long situation. Um, so in preparing for this pod, I did go back and re-listen to Day and Age so I could do like a compare and contrast with those two. And I really liked that album more than I remembered liking it. Every song on Day and Age is strong. It blends styles. None of it has the, ripping, shredding solos, but I didn't find myself missing that because the songwriting on that album is really strong. And then you get to Life in the Wires, and it's got moments on it that peak higher than anything on Day and Age. Like I wrote for Life in the Wires Part One, it's got some of this album was a little bit heavier than Frost usually is, and it reminded me of the way Haken brought in a little bit more gent between Affinity and Vector. Because Vector, the lead single, what's it called? Like prosthesis. What's that song called? I hope
I
I'm
forgot
thinking
about Haken. I remember that may have been like one of the they probably had a record in 2014, and in 2014 for some reason it was just like a influential year for me when it came to listening to a bunch of music that was new.
Warriors, right?
2013 was The Mountain, which is my favorite Haken album.
Oh, okay, that's the
new.
one. And I was
No,
like, this is fucking
Prosthetic was
awesome.
off Virus.
It was, yeah, I looked that up. So they were a little heavier on Vector, but Virus especially, Prosthetic came out as like the lead single, and it just has this like gent riff right at the beginning. I was like, oh no, oh what have you done?
Oh
Don't do
no.
this. And it ended up being like the album's fine. It's a good album.
Yeah.
I like Fauna better. We're not making this about Haken. We're making this about Frost. So some of what Frost did on Life in the Wires felt like let's sprinkle in a little bit of this modern metal heaviness into our neo-prog sound, which I thought was pretty effective. And then like later in part one, Life in the Wires, Jem starts ripping synth riffs out of the sky, is what I wrote in my notes. It's like when he starts shredding, it's like, yeah, there you go. That's great. And then from there forward, yeah, there are songs on the album that don't serve very much of a purpose. This House of Winter is like half good. It has some cool melodic percussion in the second half in 7/4. The Solid State Orchestra takes a while to kind of go anywhere. Strange World is a really chill song. Absent Friends is a really chill song. Also, possibly another Genesis reference because they have a song called For Absent Friends on 1971's Nursery Crime. So yeah, there's this disconnected
You have
balance
the
between like
Jesus scholar here.
I'm super prog nerd today. But I don't know. I felt this album was a little bit more inconsistent from track to track than Day and Age was. It had maybe higher peaks, but definitely lower valleys. And so I don't know where that lands in terms of like which one is better per se. And I don't have to decide. But yeah, I do think this might have been a tad bloated, and maybe like if you're checking out Frost for the first time because you're listening to this podcast, first of all, listen to Million Town instead of either of these albums. But then I might recommend Day and Age over Life in the Wires. I would not go for Life in the Wires until you're ready for a longer commitment to this band to see like maybe you could say it's got more breadth of what they can do, because if you appreciate the softer sort of filler stuff, it really is, it's well composed, but as a 90-minute listening experience, it drags a little bit.
I also thought that it ended up feeling long. It didn't feel long until maybe like somewhere around between Propaganda and Sign of Life.
Well, that's how it works, man. When something feels long, it's after a certain point, right?
Well, like
on track 3, this feels long.
Sometimes it is like that. I mean, like I mean, Swan's just, I mean, because we've been talking about him. I mean, you listen to the first song, and even if that track isn't the 50-minute track, it's just like, man, this is a fucking ordeal. And I guess what I mean by that is, so Life in the Wires to me, again, not a true prog head, but I really enjoyed it. It doesn't have some of the weird proggy melodic sensibilities that end up not landing for me. Like I get that, like I'll listen to some prog stuff and be like, I get that this is, uh is the word virtuosic. Like I get that there's a bunch of shit going on right now, but it's like doesn't work for my ear. A lot of these songs have a chorus that's just like, how can you not like that? Like it's completely fine. But it grabs you pretty quick. Evaporator specifically, love that chorus.
Yep.
Love that chorus. Wonderful. Idiot Box, nasty ass riff that just super good. But yeah, it didn't feel long 3/4 of the way through. And Grant said, okay, you've got the 8-minute track and then the 16-minute track. But an album can be an hour long and feel like it flies by if there's, a lot of stuff going on and it's remains interesting. But I didn't have many complaints beyond it feeling kind of bloated, I guess. I had never heard this band before. I did have it already saved from when we did the top tens with just us three, but hadn't listened to them yet. So I think it was my first introduction to them as a band. I was just looking something up. They do something sneaky, which I think is kind of smart. You want to read the lyrics on the Bandcamp? You can't. You got to go to their own website, which is frost.life, which is that's prog shit right there. Not .com, not net, not org, .life. Go to the site, check out the lyrics. You can do that. They have a club on their site where you can see specific recordings, like live recordings and just high resolution audio. I was kind of hoping that they would have some tabs here, but I don't see that. But I tend to not have a ton to say about, would you call it pure prog? Is it neo prog? What would y'all call it? Is it just that's prog? What do y'all say?
I said neo prog.
Neo prog? Is that the consensus, I guess? So is Azure
I
neo
agree
prog?
with that.
The concept, I didn't mind the concept. It kind of reminded me of like Fallout, I guess, in a way. You've just got the voice coming in over the radio. I didn't read the lyrics because what'd you say?
You need to get to go get Three Dog.
Three
It's in
Dog?
Fallout 3. It's in Fallout 3. It's a mission in Fallout 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it kind of had that, dystopian tech vibe in a way. And it just felt easier I don't feel like I felt immersed in it, but I didn't feel so distracted by this album's whimsy that I like couldn't just appreciate it as music. Whereas, gonna commit heresy here, Azure, I'm like, dude, I don't feel these feelings. I don't live in the woods. I'm not an elf. I'm not a little guy, woodland creature. I do not feel that. I can sympathize with the little guy in the woods, but I just don't know I don't know how to listen to it. I think I had almost messaged the chat. How do you guys listen to this? And I know that we went over it, Do you imagine that you're the guy? Do you imagine, you're in some world and you're hearing the radio broadcast? I think I probably could have done that better if I had read the lyrics already. So that's my fault for not doing enough studying. But with Azure, I was like, I don't feel like I'm there right now. I'm not in the woods. I don't see the dragon. I don't see the wonderful fox. This is cool music. With this, I was like, I can kind of just see it in my own mind. I hear the
Yeah,
weird guy
can
on the
you
radio.
do you
What'd you say?
have do you have an imagination? You know, when you read stuff, can you just not see it in
Yeah,
your mind?
I mean, like, yeah, I can, but I don't know. Maybe it would take me too long to come up with a response, I guess, of just like certain things immerse me immediately. And like I can kind of imagine my own world. Whereas with Prague, typically they have a specific world that they're working with. The concept, they've created a world, they've created a story, and that story you either infer from the themes of the music itself, or you can, pick up on directly from the lyrics. And like synth going fucking crazy and like shredding, like it doesn't typically make me, and I'm not even saying that as an insult. I still thought the music was really cool, but like ripping on the synth does not immerse me in a world other than I'm watching a dude shred on the synth. Typically, it's like that atmosphere doesn't put me in this cold dystopian world. I'm like, that guy's a shredder, you know?
Well, I want to bring a point about Rush. So Alex Lifeson, the way he saw solos in music, in Rush at least, it was to support the story. So if there's a solo in a Rush song from prior to, I guess, 1980 something, I guess. But if there's a solo, a guitar solo in one of their songs, it's because there's something that conjured that solo in the song itself, in the story they're trying to tell. It has that reason. It's not wankery. So maybe you should try and listen to a bit of, Bytor and the Snow Dog and
I
2112 or something like that.
let me hands up say I didn't see it as wankery. I didn't listen to it as wankery. But I guess so often the vibe of prog music is like power. Someone is overcoming a triumph in typically some kind of fantastical scenario. And I guess trying just thinking introspectively, like I don't listen to a lot of music where I am supposed to feel empowered. So that feels a little unusual to me. And prog music tends to give that atmosphere or that vibe or that kind of message is what I infer from prog music a lot is like power. I am powerful. I am capable of doing something. And it, for some reason, it feels unusual to try and tap into that feeling. I don't know why. Some music does make me feel powerful in a weird way, I guess. Like, okay, Dragon Force, listen to Dragon Force, you're like, dude, I'm in some barren ass world. There's some crazy, I'm in the middle of a tornado, you know, like a Dragon Ball Z type landscape and some crazy things happening, and I'm a powerful guy. Um, but I also listened to
Hell
that
yeah.
when I was younger, so it was maybe easier for me to feel like when I listen to Fury of the Storm, I'm like, bro, I'm in the middle of a tornado right now. With this, um, you're right though. I should listen to more just straight up prog. I will make it a point actually to do my due diligence here. All of that to say, I still enjoyed this record. We've listened to albums where I'm like, fuck that. But this was not that. I dig it.
What was your most fuck that album?
I don't want to say. I don't want the people who I can find something positive to say about any album, I guess, that at least all the albums that we've talked about. But I'm not gonna like put someone on the spot and say of all the shit that we've listened to, yours is my least favorite. They watched the video. I've enjoyed to different levels, to different degrees. I've enjoyed every album that we've talked about.
That's very political.
I mean, I don't want to make any kind of enemy.
No,
I don't want
that's
to
fine.
hurt anybody. Well, not even
I'd
not
vote
maybe
for
not.
you, man.
I don't want not maybe not. I don't want to make an enemy, but it takes so much time and effort to write anything, even the shit that I don't really like. Like it took a long ass time. So I don't want to hurt anybody. The the written reviews were called Sweetheart Open Ear because I wanted to write sweet stuff about everybody's stuff. I didn't want to hate.
Oh
Like this
yeah.
actually sucks. Don't listen to it. You know.
Yeah.
Uh, but for as little as I had to say about the Frost record, I actually didn't have too much to say about my own album that I picked, which was or has everyone said what they'd like about Frost Asterisk?
Go on.
So I chose Eros, Your Truth is a Lie. This was something that I found this year. My friend Lewis showed me this record. I have a friend who lives in the UK, and we collaborate on music stuff sometimes. And we'll do this thing where, like, even if we're doing separate things, we'll start a little Spotify jam and just show each other music. And this was one of the bands or albums that I found that way. And it for electronic music specifically, it makes me very happy because if you like Boomcat records, if you trust Boomcat, you should listen to this album. If you like industrial, post-industrial, whatever that means, post-dubstep UK stuff, you should listen to this record. If you like making music completely in the box, basically, you should listen to this record. Uh, Total ear candy. It's dark. It's super minimal. It kind of reminds me of pre-DAW electronic music. I wouldn't say Kraftwerk necessarily, but you know, I think I said in the chat, it's like the most stripped down version of The Cure or Depeche Mode, and then taking the most basic elements of bands like that and then using the technology that we have now to spice them up and make them dark and kind of moody. Wouldn't say standoffish, but the songs have this vibe of, we're cool, we're too cool for you a little bit, but it still sounds amazing. And it reminds me of some of my favorite current electronic music, which is Rame, Demdike Stare, Rose with two R's, so RROSE, Andy Stott, um, label that doesn't exist anymore, Blackest Ever Black. They had some artists like Rame on there. And it's just the sound selection, the production on this is so good. I think it's a record that you could feasibly test new speakers with. Like if you've ever spent an hour trying to make a snare sound good or a kick sound good, you should listen to this album and just get mad because it's masterfully produced. The dude, as far as I understand it, the dude who is actually doing the production, let me make sure I get this right. So it's Boris from, what is his last name? Boris Wilsdorf. When I was writing my notes, I had to look this up. Okay, here we go. Einstautzen den Neubauten. I wrote it out phonetically because if you're one of the guys who listens, if you're a dude, okay, if you're some kind of guy, you like Throbbing Gristle, you like A-Trax Morgue, you like Coil, you like that band. if someone puts you on the spot and you can't pronounce Einstützen die Neubauten, you're fucked. You are fucked. You're not real. You're not a real industrial head. And I will be honest,
Einstürzende Neubauten.
Neubauten. I did not know how to pronounce it. I wrote all my notes in 2 hours, around 20 minutes just trying to make sure I could pronounce that. And I think I did it. So but Boris Wilsdorf was in, let me look at the phonetic pronunciation, Einstützen die Neubauten. Boris was from that. He produces the music. And he did make electronic music pre-DAW. So kind of gives you that sense of there's still a rock star. There's a front man in this band. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of cool with this really moody electronic music, because that's nearly unheard of. But other than that, I didn't have too much to say other than really, really well produced, super moody, super dark, just kind of this weird minimal vocal delivery over like beats that if I made any of these beats, I would be trying to release it immediately and be like, sign me right now, because it just sounds really good. What did you think?
You send that one track to a label and you just say, there's plenty more where that came from.
Go ahead and give me $1 million and we'll see what comes next.
Yeah, I want the $1 million up front though.
Yeah, give me the $1 million up front. And I got hella songs that are like boom, boom. And I'll keep making them if you keep paying me. What did y'all think about it?
Well, I can go first. I'm not much of an electro guy, as you are probably aware, but it was pretty good. It's not something that talks to me, but it's something that I can appreciate. Like you said, it's well crafted and it's got a very good sound design. So every sound on that album is very, it's very well made and has its place in the mix and all of that. And it's sounding great, even though I'm listening uh, on Bandcamp at 128 kbps MP3 streaming. So even with all of that, it sounded good. So I can imagine that like the CD on my CD player must be like absolutely brilliant and with that depth of sound that I don't have with streaming. Um, and the only note I wrote for that is that, and that's my only reference to that kind of music, but it sounded like the the synth tracks on OSI Blood, which is like
OSI Blood.
yeah, OSI is the band, Blood is the album, and I know that album only because Mikael Åkerfeldt from Opeth played on it, I think. I think that's the link. And it's the only OSI album I have and I'll ever have. And it's just because of the Opeth fame. And in the at the end of the day, it's not even an album that I love very much, like very much. But it reminded me of the synth tracks on that album. There's a bunch of tracks with guitar riffs, but I'm speaking about the tracks without guitar. It reminded me of that, but that's basically because that's my only reference point.
I just to add one thing is, so talking about again having trouble with being immersed in prog music, I guess. With this, I know I can imagine exactly where I would hear this music. Like it puts me in a place immediately that feels tangible to me. You would hear this in some sort, either a club or a big dark room with people who it's like hot music. It would be blaringly loud, and you're just in a big dark room with people. And I enjoy that. If music can convey that to me effectively, then I enjoy that. So I'm able to be immersed in where I imagine I would hear the music coming from. So that also plays into, I think, why I like it is I can immediately imagine where I would hear it, what kind of things I would see, what kind of things I would feel. It does a good job of conveying that. But that's my little note.
Okay.
What about you, Matt? What do you think?
Uh, it's an interesting inversion of, you describing how you can't really feel the prog and like how do I connect to this music? Whereas I don't envision myself like in the fantasy world, but I'm just like it's like watching a movie. Like if I'm watching Dune, I'm not
Mhm.
imagining myself on Arrakis, but I'm appreciating what I'm seeing, what's going on there, and that's how prog feels to me. This album
Hmm.
I wasn't able to connect to. So like I'm listening to it from a musical, from like a compositional perspective. Whereas when you listen to this album, you're sensing the place of it. You're like inspecting the sound design with your ears and like appreciating how each little piece of it was crafted. I
Yeah.
didn't get that much of the angle of it. From a compositional perspective, it's, I won't say boring, but in contrast to like the three albums we just talked about that
No,
are all
y
different
you can
flavors of
say
prog,
boring.
I don't think it is. I just think that like each song does one thing and it
Yeah.
evolves that thing and it like, but it stays very like you hear the first 5 seconds of the song and you're like, all right, this is the beat of this song. Let's see where
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
goes. So I appreciate stuff like that. I'm never in the dark, dimly lit club where that's playing. So like this music doesn't transport me to that place. That's not my place. But it and I don't listen to much industrial, but it definitely felt like, spiritually connected to that sort of very early The Cure, Depeche Mode, um, trying to think of a third artist, and I just again I don't have those maybe like Clan of Zymox or something.
Sure.
Deep cut, I don't know. But yeah, it's this different universe for me. So like I appreciated it for what it was. I like when it's a little bit more quote unquote musical. In track 3, there's this sort of like motif of this is bad faith just being repeated. And it's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't quite get what that's trying to do to me, the listener. That's fine. It's not for me. But yeah, like you and Dave pointed out, like the crafting of the album is something I think I would appreciate more on repeated listens, like to let this album sink in a little bit and be like, okay, like I can feel more of like where this is coming from and how it's been so carefully designed. So I'll probably revisit it and try to hear it in that light. But at first listen, it was just like, yeah, these are cool beats and it's dark, it's moody, brooding, but it's not like transporting me anywhere.
That is also fair because a lot of the sound in the album is like Foley. Like it doesn't
Mhm.
really register as most of the instruments on the record don't register as instruments. The kick
And
sounds like
and
a kick, the bass sounds like a bass, but then most of the percussion, I'm not thinking of a drum kit.
Yeah.
And I am admittedly super into that recently, trying
yeah,
to
I think that's super cool too. Like
yeah.
just using random stuff. You record anything and you just make it an instrument. I think that's very cool.
I've been kind of hyped on like stuff that I've been working on myself. I've been kind of hyped on that. So I think this probably hit me at just a specific time where it kind of it really made me happy in that sense. And
But
in the
just like
transporting, go ahead, go ahead.
I mean, just like imagine like the cover band of that, and just like there's a drum kit, there's the kick or whatever, and then there's just like a door frame with a door, and the
Yeah,
guy just closes the door, just like
yeah, I
on
fuck
every
with
two
that.
and four.
Yeah, he's just got paper and
It's
he's
just like,
like crumbling it up into the mic. I like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of the same boat as Matt with this album. The other three like grab you a lot more, and I don't really listen to this type of kind of experimental type music much, so there wasn't really much to grab me. I did appreciate how it sounded, but yeah, there really wasn't much for me to latch onto to really uh, transport me to anywhere special or like really connect with the music on another level or anything like that. But it wasn't bad, but just nothing really connected to me.
This is interesting to me that the like how we immerse or are not immersed by records and why.
Hmm.
Because to me, the place that this transports me to is just it just transports me to a venue. I imagine that I am seeing it performed live. And with prog stuff, and it's contextual, but they typically have a place where they are hoping to transport you to, and like a movie does also, of course, like you should be transported to the place that is on the screen. Whereas with prog music, maybe I just have some weird, like I dig my heels in a little bit without even meaning to, where I struggle to transport to a place if someone is telling me that this is the place where not you should go, but where you are kind of pushed to go in terms of
It,
imagination.
it's just the place where it's happening, it's just like, hey, look, there's this guy in like this fantasy land that's, I don't know, that has a sword and whatever. It's not you, but it's just it is what it is.
I gotta it bothers me when I feel like I can't appreciate something in the same way as other people do, especially when I really respect their taste. And I respect y'all's taste a lot. And like I want to, increase my level of joy just in general in life. And y'all get so much joy from the prog records. It's like, how do I get that? I want to get that. And
So
so
what's your gateway? What's your gateway drug to
that's what I'm
prog?
trying to maybe King Crimson is kind of that, like Magma is kind of that, or like Ruins is kind of that.
Yeah.
Uh
Oh yeah.
kind of have to go, maybe Ruins is a good example. That I can, it doesn't explicitly, because they're mostly instrumental or completely instrumental, right? And so in that way I can just kind of fill in the gap of like, oh, I'm in some sweaty ass place. Oh my God, I'm overwhelmed by this music. And I like that feeling, I guess. I tend to resonate with that. But I would be interested in trying to figure out how do I get there? How do I work backwards into the true prog?
I think you focus a lot on lyrics. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I totally do.
Because for me it's quite the opposite, actually. Like the lyrics is the last thing. It's the last thing I'm gonna care about on a record, and that's a shame for the really good writers that there are out there, but it's just the way I listen to stuff. And the only way it's gonna detract or uh yeah, detract from the music or from my appreciation of the music is if I can I don't know if I can if it's how to say that. But if it's very bad, like aggressively bad,
Yeah.
lyrics that are just in your face and you can clearly hear them and understand what they're saying, and it's very bad. I'm just like, man, turn that shit off. But usually, especially in like death metal and black metal and stuff, where it's growlings and screaming and all of that, you need to focus a little bit on the lyrics to try to decipher them, understand them.
With metal
Then
music, like death metal stuff, I don't even really read the lyrics anymore.
yeah, yeah,
Be
exactly.
because I know that the emotional impact basically can only be so much considering how they have chosen to express those feelings musically, if that makes sense.
Well, I think that makes sense, but I'm not sure I agree. But what I want to say is even with clear lyrics, clearly sung lyrics, uh, and vocals, it's just not my focus when I first listen to music. I just go to like what's behind the vocals. I listen to the guitar track, I listen to the bass track, the drums, and all of that. And the lyrics are just kind of in the back of my mind. I don't care about them. I don't listen to them. I don't try to understand what he's saying. And that's in Prague usually because the instruments are very virtuosic and they're changing a lot, and there's always something new to focus on. Whereas in if it's always the same thing, when after a while I'm gonna try to listen to the vocal track. But that's, you have a completely different approach than I do. And, I think that's interesting.
I mean, I'm not reading the lyrics to every single record, but like I said before, really good lyrics that feel emotionally, and when I say like emotionally impactful, I just mean, I don't mean objectively. I mean just in my own experience with it. And so when I said that the way that death metal bands have chosen to present their feelings puts a cap at how emotionally resonant it is, I'm not being objective. It's just in my personal experience. And it kind of goes back to a take that I just talk about too much at this fucking point, but like that isn't how people act in real life. When someone is very upset or going through something like really bad, they're not they're not growling typically. I mean, not in that way. uh with slam or whatever, I that's just easy listening to me because it doesn't really shock me, and I can't make out any of the lyrics. They're basically irrelevant. But with something like Sprain, or what's the new band that has a guy from Sprain? You sent it, Matt.
Oh,
Oh
uh
yeah.
Shearling.
Yeah.
Shearling. That is a vocal style where a vocal delivery where I could see someone
Hmm.
having a kind of nervous breakdown in a believable way and speaking like that. And so it puts my hairs on end a bit more because it sounds like you're witnessing something that's kind of real. And those are the things that take emotional impact to a new level for me.
Well, I
Is
mean, yeah, I'm sorry, but just like you're saying about the growling and stuff like that, but nobody's gonna start singing about how they feel in real life either. That's kind of the
I do that
kind of the
every
point.
day. I'm singing every day about how happy I am when the coffee is good. So
Awesome.
that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Are you saying that you don't sing a little song like uh maybe it's a cleaning the dishes song, maybe it's a changing a diaper song? I mean,
I don't,
singing
yeah, I don't do that. I write riffs though.
I
about
I do that. I sing the little ditties, but I don't want to listen to an album of that. That's not what I want from music. That when I sit down to listen to music, that's not what I want to
yeah,
listen to.
I know, but that my response there was that we do sing naturally a lot of people do sing naturally, I guess, as just a immediate response to emotions. Whereas the Knoll scream, the full of hell scream, that is not a natural response, I would say, to any real thing that happens.
Well, it's a technique.
Sounds sick as fuck. Awesome technique. But if I got into a car wreck, like a little fender bender with somebody, they got out of the car and started screaming, doing the Knoll scream, it would freak my shit out because that's unnatural. But if he started, just rambling or whatever, I'd be like, damn, sorry. Like, dude, I have insurance. It'll be all right.
If he gets out of the car and does the spraying thing, just
I'd
like
be like, oh my God, this dude needs
I'm calling the
medication.
ambulance.
Okay, but consider
Yeah.
this. ICE is raiding your neighbor's house. You go out and start doing the Knoll scream at them.
Yeah,
I feel like
sure.
that's appropriate.
It could be, yeah. Yeah, and that it is a slippery slope. I get that. I'm dying on a hill. It is a slippery slope.
Or dying on a
But
slippery hill.
I'm dying on a slippery hill. I'm slipping
Here's the
down to the
thing. I
bottom.
think with the intense metal vocal expressions of all varieties, they are tapping into a primal emotional thing that you cannot socially express with a
Okay.
vocal style like that, but you want to. But in music, you can. Like, I want to
Okay.
scream about this, but I'm not allowed to unless I'm recording a metal album. Then I can blow my vocals out.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. You got me. Because I feel like Matt and I, like our take on like the way that we listen to music or interpret lyrics and the importance of lyrics, I think we're kind of aligned a little bit. It seems that way.
Mhm.
Um, so I agree with that statement. That's what makes it a slippery slope is like, yeah, maybe you would scream, in response to seeing something horrific like that. And to be fair, just to destroy my own argument in a way, like, well, maybe it doesn't destroy it, but the raw vocal where there's no technique, I love screams like that. That's my favorite scream because it feels again like someone is screaming out of true pain or fear or something. Um, but yeah,
What do you think about the blend of the two? The singers that do melodic and screams and all of that. I'm thinking about Protest the Hero like right now in my mind. But what do you think of that kind of?
so Protest the Hero is the only band that's allowed to do what Protest the Hero does, in my opinion. They're the only band that's allowed to do it. Another example would be like Deaf Heaven. Deaf Heaven does it in a way that sometimes it feels like it doesn't really click. Like maybe I wouldn't be screaming over this beautiful part, but I love Deaf Heaven's music. Bands that
Mhm.
do it in the worst possible way, Periphery. Periphery does it in a way where I don't believe any of the feelings anymore. I think that it's all fake. Even the singing. Protest the Hero, he's the only guy that's allowed to do it. That's
What a
just it.
guy!
Yeah.
What a
So
guy!
yeah.
Like on
But
Scurrilous, man.
I'll end my tangent there, but I need to employ you guys to help me. I want to know. I want to feel the joy of Prague. I want to do better. I know that y'all had said that I need to listen to all the Opeth. Give me something else. Give me something that isn't that. Something help me out. And we don't have to do it like on the podcast, but just help my ass out there.
Write your suggestion in the comments below.
Help me get in the
Like
Prague.
and
I want.
subscribe.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's help Bishop become Prague.
Prague head. How do
Hell
I get in there?
You
Yeah.
need to like lose your hair here and then have little glasses like the blood incantation guy.
Okay.
Like he's got the
It's a
style,
good path
man.
forward.
Okay. Like a
Or
no
the
hawk, I would kind
or
of
the
have to
Devin
force it.
Townsend thing.
Mm, mm.
So yeah, what's your gateway to Prague?
Help me out. Help me. I'm begging. Get me in the door.
We forced you to listen to 3 prog albums for this podcast, so we're trying.
And it doesn't like Frost sounds like prog to me. That registers as prog. Violet Pony registers as like everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not
Secret
so
Violet
much.
Pony's another example of like you've got this delicate, lilting, emotional singing, and then you've also got these full-throated yells, uh, often right next to each other.
I'll write a whether you call it a thesis or a manifesto, I'll write my feelings out about the what I perceive as natural, appropriately natural, which then can immerse me characteristics of music. Like I have to explain myself. Uh, but the fact that you call Secret Gardens prog, it's just like I would never think that. It never registers in that
I
way.
don't think I would call it prog as a whole album. I think it used elements of prog,
Yeah.
but it's definitely more in like that sort of post indie. I don't exactly know where it lands, but some form of melodic rock.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's kind of
Rock.
hard to nail down. I agree that I'm not super confident with the new prog tag I put on it, but it's like you
It's got
said, it's kind
elements.
of, I'm sorry.
It's got elements of it.
Yeah, yeah, but where is it actually? It's I don't know. It's its own thing. And at the end of the day, do we need like labels, very specific labels on everything?
Yes.
If it's good, right?
Yeah, we do.
All right.
No, I used to when I was here's how old I am. I used to have a CD binder, with
Of
the
course.
lyric
Hell yeah.
sheets and all that. But I went beyond that. I had the lyric sheet and CD behind it, and I also cut out little paper tags of genre labels to put in the little slip to
Wow.
see, this is
Physical labeling.
metalcore, death metal, emo, etc. Like I had to tell people
Yeah.
what genre those things
Very,
were.
very OCD.
Yep, that's me.
I guess final thing, I mean, I know we've kind of gone off on a tangent here, but records that you've liked from this year so far,
Damn,
2025. You
that's
probably have a
hard.
million. I think I have like six.
I don't have a million, and I have not. It's May right now. Spoiler alert for when who knows when this gets posted, but we're recording this toward the end of May. I haven't made a spreadsheet for 2025 yet. I've
I haven't
avoided
either.
it. Normally I keep a very thorough spreadsheet. Um, the Bleed record that came out this year, that's just full on early 2000s alt rock new metal. Love it. It's just that album to me is Mountain Dew Code Red and MTV2. It's so perfectly what it's trying to be. It's not the best album. It's not going to be my album of the year, but just for what it is trying to do, absolutely nailed it.
Mm.
Um, Yahweh Nail Gun. We're probably going to talk about that maybe next time around. That album's
Yes.
no, it's barely an album. It's 20 minutes long, and yet normally I would be mad that an album is only 20 minutes long, but instead I just listened to it 4 times in a row, and I was like, this is
Yes.
mind-boggling.
So good.
Um, yeah,
Wow. That's the first time I'm hearing that from you, Matt.
yeah.
It is
Uh,
my favorite record of the year so far. It probably will just be my album of the year.
mm,
It's so special.
I got Benthos is pretty good. The new Desiderium
Yeah.
is really good. The new Shearling, which we briefly mentioned, I still haven't listened to the whole thing all the way through, but I know it's really good.
I'm ready
Um,
to talk some shit about that, even though it's good. I'm ready to talk some shit.
The new Sleep Token is not good. I
Nope.
think that's
Mm.
pretty broadly consensus that they kind of went backwards on that album. And no, Kamasi Washington put out an album that is partially a soundtrack to the anime Lazarus, and I don't know
Is it
anything about
only
that
partially
anime,
the
but the
soundtrack?
album for the music that's on
I've
it
been
is some of
enjoying the
Kamasi's
anime,
best
so
stuff.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, that album's great.
Is it
Hmm.
only partially the soundtrack?
I think the soundtrack is shared among Kamasi and a couple other artists who each put out like a
Okay.
Lazarus based album.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a cool album, yeah. Jeff, do you have anything from 2025?
Yeah, I have a few albums that I was listening to when because we have to do our Q1 of 2025. So I had
Yeah,
Jacob
already.
Roberge, The Passing, Lifting Line Theory, Wonder, uh, Motorpsycho's self-titled album. Those were the top three of the ones I was thinking of choosing for Q1. I think I was leaning towards Lifting Line Theory because that was quite different, where it has a female front vocalist on that one. Um, yeah, those are mainly the ones I have. Other albums that I've enjoyed in 2025, of course, the new Dream Theater. There's the new Coheed and Cambria album, new Steven Wilson. Like, uh, of course, I'm going to listen to all those, but uh, want to highlight some more lesser known bands, of course, on the podcast.
So I'm gonna dump a lot of names right now because I've got my spreadsheet ahead of me and just just go through it and name the ones that light the most in my head. First, there's Skinner, who released New Wave Vaudeville. It's a post-punk album. It's awesome. There's Lou Adrian Cassidy, Journal d'un loup-garou. It's an indie pop album from Montreal. It's great. There's also the Dane Fay album, Trust. It's a progressive metal band. It's good. It's very good. Um, After that, now we're in February. Um, Let me just check. There's the Copeland album, Expire. It's a great jazz fusion album. I think the new Pattern Seeking Animals was pretty good too. Prog rock album. There's Empyrean Chimes, a self-titled album. I labeled it post-prog because it's kind of a bit weird, but it's very good. The new Mandrake Handshake,
Oh, that's a good
Earth-Sized
one.
World. Yeah, Krautrock, very good. Motorcycle, yeah, very good stuff. Naxatras 5, and another prog rock album, very good. Colin Self, Respite Infinity Levity for the Nameless Ghost in Crisis. A kind of very weird experimental pop, opera, electro stuff. It's awesome. It's very good. You should listen to that. Absolutely. Lifting Line Theory, Wonder, another progressive rock that Jeff mentioned. There's the Far Cry, Once There Was. It's another awesome progressive rock. I'm running out of adjectives. Um, I noted Helena Casella, Bit of Impressions. It's a neo soul album. It's very good. There's Frog with two G's. Frog, Eclipse, progressive metal, good stuff. Desiderium, obviously, it has to be mentioned. There's the new Mikau, or Miko, I don't know, Agartha. It's a post-hardcore album, and it's great. And I'm almost finished for the first 3 months. Let me check. There's a new Imperial Triumphant. Uh, I don't think it was, I don't know, I don't remember much. I don't think it was that memorable,
Ready
actually.
to talk some shit about that one too.
Yeah,
I also
yeah.
liked it, but I'm ready to talk
There's
shit.
a, there's a new Backwash, Only Dust Remains, like hip hop screaming stuff. It's good. The new Death Heaven is very good. And one last, maybe, yeah, the new Telepathy. Why not? Transmissions, a new post-metal album from Telepathy. Very good. So that's very quick picks from the Q1 of 25.
I don't think I have more than, I guess I haven't listened to a ton of stuff. The Armed put out something, I think. Um,
I don't think it's
Yahweh,
out yet.
just been singles. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm a fake music head then. Uh, but Yahweh Nailgun, love that so much. A friend sent me an EP by a band called Wind Chimes, and it was like crazy. It's, I guess, just that kind of modern death metal. When I think modern pure death metal, the band that comes to mind, I guess, is Altars. But it sounds like it was produced by Buster from Buster Oldham. What band is he in? Viltarta. Uh,
Mm.
so it's huge sounding. It's kind of
Is it
odd
tall?
how what?
Is it tall?
So I it sounds the production is Thal, but it's just death metal. And I think that's kind of sick and novel in a way. Um Intercourse put out a record. Um yeah, I'm behind on music for sure. But uh Noise Trail Immersion is
Oh
putting
yeah,
something out soon, so I'm pretty stoked for that. I just see
good.
it on my release radar. Patristic put out
Yep.
they put out two singles. I remember in 2022 when was it 2022? Apologetica came out. I was like, okay, this is a cool band name, got cool art. I hope it's badass and doesn't sound like a bunch of other bands pretty much to a T. But it did kind of sound like a bunch of other bands to a T. So I'm curious to see if they can separate from that like fever pitch we hit with everybody's in the dissonant metal band now. Everybody, my grandma, she's listening to fucking DSO. She knows that. Don't mention that. Okay. So let's go ahead and separate. We'll see. We'll see. So
She's
yeah,
like,
very
ulcerate? Yeah, I have pills for that.
yeah, she's like ulcerate. I mean, it's just all minor. It's like not even dissonant. I mean, it's good. That's is it really dissonant? I mean, it's just minor key all the time. Um, so my list is very light. I have to I have to get to work, so to speak.
Get to work.
Get to listening.
Well, all right. Thanks, guys. So
All right.
see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye bye.